Welcome back. Vegeta's primal wrath is wild today. NGL. Support via PayPal below.
The absolute, crushing silence of the high-gravity void is his only sanctuary, a perfect place for the Saiyan prince to meditate. But the eternal peace is violently interrupted. Two colossal, terrifyingly familiar energy signatures rapidly approach his exact spatial coordinates. His eyes snap open. The unwavering composure of the ultimate conqueror is instantly shattered by an impossible biological reality. Emerging from the deepest shadows of the void, they arrive. The perfect, sickening manifestation of a stolen legacy. The fierce, untamed spiky hair of a Saiyan warrior, cursed and corrupted entirely by the pale, demonic skin of a parasite. Dead, white eyes stare blankly ahead. They possess absolutely zero emotion, operating purely on a cold, pre-programmed biological imperative. But there is no denying the truth. The royal tail sways, providing absolute confirmation of the unforgivable genetic theft. The prince stumbles. A paralyzing wave of disbelief washes over him as the horrifying pieces of the puzzle aggressively snap together. His senses confirm the nightmare. His own pure, royal life force has been successfully harvested and weaponized by the goddess. The shock evaporates instantly. The paralyzing dread is entirely incinerated, replaced by a boundless, sickening wave of pure disgust. He clenches his fists with bone-crushing force. To be used as a biological tool is the ultimate, unforgivable insult. Royal blood is drawn by his own furious grip. The physical pain anchors his mind, igniting an apocalyptic, world-ending rage. The parasitic hybrids simply stare. They do not comprehend the catastrophic, god-tier violence they have just awakened. The prince violently snaps. The trauma of his enslaved past is weaponized into an uncontrollable, primitive Saiyan fury. An ocean of unadulterated ki obliterates the darkness. The sheer magnitude of his pride demands absolute, immediate retribution. But he doesn't strike. Despite his towering rage, he refuses to execute the innocent pawn standing in front of him.
You parasitic filth! Aktai, you dared to defile my royal blood?
This reckoning belongs solely to the mother of this atrocity. The prince points his fury directly at the fabric of reality. He violently grips the empty void. His god-tier physical strength begins to literally crush the spatial boundaries of the multiverse. With a catastrophic roar, he tears reality wide open. The impenetrable heavy dimension is brutally shredded by sheer brute force. He casts a kinetic tether, securing the children without inflicting harm. He refuses to leave his corrupted legacy behind. Plunging into the chaotic rift, the prince drags them along. He is bringing the execution directly to the goddess's doorstep. The rift snaps shut. The crushing void returns to silence, blissfully unaware of the absolute slaughter about to unfold elsewhere. Meanwhile, in the absolute zero dimension, the goddess rests, believing her dark eugenic masterpiece is safely secured forever. But hell follows the prince wherever he goes. The serene sky is brutally torn apart by an unstoppable kinetic intrusion. Screaming downwards like a vengeful meteor, the ultimate predator has returned to claim his retribution with extreme prejudice. Gravity takes hold, pulling the god-tier fury directly toward the frozen earth. The executioner has arrived. Ground Zero. Millions of tons of unbreakable magical ice are instantly pulverized into boiling steam by the sheer kinetic devastation. The smoke clears. The prince stands tall amidst the destruction. The hunt is over. Now, the absolute carnage begins.
Did you really think you could hide from me, you pathetic parasite?
Dropping back into the freezing hellscape, the prince brings his stolen legacy right to the mastermind's feet. The tension is absolutely suffocating. Battered and broken on the glacier, the goddess doesn't flinch. Seeing her ultimate biological weapons fuels a sickening, arrogant pride.
Look at them, Prince. Your primitive royal blood, finally evolved and perfectly weaponized under my command.
That taunt hits right at his core. The disrespect is unbearable, pushing the Saiyan's lethal patience right to the breaking point. She doesn't hesitate. With a single flare of her third eye, the goddess issues a silent, absolute kill order. The tethers dissolve and these kids instantly lock in. No hesitation, no fear, just pure, pre-programmed biological slaughter. They shatter the sound barrier in a split second. Moving so fast they literally tear the freezing atmosphere apart. But the prince is entirely unfazed. Tucking one arm away, he turns this lethal ambush into a casual sparring session. A killing blow aimed right at the jugular. He dodges it by a fraction of an inch, completely reading their rhythm. A sweeping kick comes in hot, but it hits a literal wall. His one-handed defense is absolutely impenetrable. A relentless barrage of strikes. The kids are throwing everything they have, but the prince brushes it off like it's nothing. He's not even breaking a sweat. His veteran eyes are analyzing every single twitch, mapping out their terrifying hybrid potential. It's a sick combination. The surgical precision of a god mixed perfectly with the raw, untamed brutality of a Saiyan. A lethal strike aimed right at his heart is swatted away instantly. Their technique is flawless, but the power gap is astronomical. But playtime is over. The prince's patience snaps, completely fed up with this highly disrespectful, choreographed dance. With a single, aggressive swing, he unleashes a kinetic wave, swatting the hybrid assassins away like they're absolutely nothing. They skid across the glacier, digging in hard. Their programmed reflexes are sharp, but they're completely outmatched here. He pulls his hand back. A massive, world-ending sphere of ki ignites, fully prepared to wipe this mistake from existence. The execution is primed. One blast is all it takes to incinerate these biological puppets and end the goddess's sick game. The energy reaches critical mass. The sheer gravitational density is terrifying, ready to unleash absolute, unadulterated devastation. But as the blinding light washes over the targets, it reveals something undeniably sacred to the Saiyan race. The royal tails. The ultimate, undeniable proof of his heritage, wrapped tightly around their waists. His murderous glare stutters. The cold, ruthless executioner is suddenly paralyzed by the undeniable weight of his own royal blood. The apocalyptic sphere stutters. He forces the energy back, physically refusing to pull the trigger on his own legacy. He lowers his hand. The sparks die out in the freezing wind. The responsibility of a king outweighs the wrath of a warrior. He clenches his empty fist. A king does not slaughter his own bloodline, no matter how corrupted it has become. Dropping his guard, he makes the hardest call. He won't destroy them. He's going to beat the Saiyan pride back into them. Watching from the dirt, the goddess smiles. She knows exactly how to exploit the so-called nobility of a desperate king. The ultimate conqueror stands his ground, refusing to play the role of the monster that everyone expects him to be.
I don't slaughter my own blood. I conquer it. Now show me what you're really made of.
Kaguya sees his hesitation. To her, a king's mercy is just a fatal weakness waiting to be exploited by a true god.
If you lack the stomach to eliminate your trash, Prince, allow me.
A sickening black curse mark violently etches itself onto their foreheads. The ultimate, cold-blooded kill switch has just been flipped. The kids scream in pure agony. Their programmed stoicism completely shatters as a flood of dark chakra aggressively hijacks their nervous systems. Their bodies grotesquely swell up, turning into ticking biological time bombs. She's literally turning his own kids into suicide vests. The unbreakable ice shatters under the weight of their destabilizing core. If they blow, the blast radius is going to be cataclysmic. The prince watches the horror unfold. Using children as disposable kamikaze bombs. That completely crosses a line you never, ever cross. The restraint is totally gone. A boundless, terrifying ocean of Saiyan fury violently incinerates the cold atmosphere around him.
You parasitic scum! I will erase your very existence!
He moves way faster than instant transmission. The glacier completely explodes just from the kinetic recoil of his launch, materializing directly above the detonating twins. He isn't running away, he's diving headfirst straight into the blast zone. He brutally slams both of them face-first into the glacier. It's tough love, applied with bone-crushing gravitational force. Pinning them down, he aggressively focuses his raging ki directly into his palms. He has a fraction of a second left. His aura forcefully shifts into a blinding, pure golden light. The raw, untamed, and absolute essence of the Saiyan royal bloodline. He violently thrusts his glowing fingers right against their spinal cords, forcefully injecting his own god-tier life force into them. The golden ki pierces their skin like literal liquid fire. He is going to brutally burn the parasite right out of them. Beneath the flesh, it's a total nightmare. Thick, black parasitic chakra vines are wrapped tightly around their fragile spinal columns. The golden energy floods their nervous system, violently crashing into Kaguya's dark chakra like a completely unstoppable, holy wildfire. An internal war of absolute proportions. The Saiyan ki aggressively hunts down and incinerates every single trace of the black poison. Back in reality, the pain is totally unimaginable. The twins thrash wildly as the brutal cleansing fire roars right through their veins. Vegeta grits his teeth, pushing even more power. If their Saiyan biology fails now, they'll literally be burned to ash. Kaguya watches in absolute horror. Her unbreakable, divine mind control is being literally melted away by sheer brute force and willpower. The black curse marks violently blister and crack. The toxic seal is literally being peeled off their skin like burning paper. With a deafening crack, the volatile dark aura completely shatters. The devastating explosion sequence is forcibly aborted. The grotesque swelling stops instantly. Their bodies rapidly stabilize, miraculously returning to their natural, flawless state without tearing apart. A final, overwhelming wave of golden light completely vaporizes the last microscopic remnants of the parasitic chakra. The purge is absolute. The threat is gone. The royal key settles in, perfectly harmonizing with their dormant Saiyan DNA to instantly heal the catastrophic damage. A massive geyser of pure white steam erupts into the freezing air, signaling the successful, miraculous end of the horrific purge. The light fades. The prince kneels there, chest heaving. He just pulled off a biological miracle with sheer, unadulterated brute force. The kids go completely limp, collapsing onto the cracked ice. The ticking biological time bombs have been safely and permanently defused. Their faces are finally peaceful. The demonic curse is completely gone, leaving absolutely no trace of the goddess's dark manipulation. He looks at them, relieved. But as he turns his head, his eyes go dead. The rescue mission is over. Now comes the execution.
Vegeta saved them. But what about Kaguya? Comment your predictions below.
The dark seal shatters. The magical backlash hits the goddess like a freight train, completely short-circuiting her divine nervous system. She violently coughs up glowing blood. The arrogant architect of this nightmare is finally tasting her own bitter medicine. Kaguya completely collapses onto the freezing glacier. Her absolute control is broken, leaving her totally exposed to the incoming wrath. The twins are out cold. The intense biological purge worked flawlessly, leaving them completely free from the toxic manipulation. Vegeta carefully wraps them in a warm, protective ki shield. It's a rare, genuine moment of pure Saiyan fatherly instinct. He gently places them out of harm's way against a solid ice cliff. The rescue mission is a total success. But the prince isn't done. He slowly turns around, and the atmosphere in the crater instantly drops to absolute zero. The roaring aura is completely gone. His eyes are dead, cold, and terrifyingly silent. The executioner has officially clocked in. No more screaming. No more golden light. Just the chilling, methodical footsteps of a man about to commit unspeakable violence. He launches forward with pure, raw physical speed. No ki blasts, just the terrifying, unstoppable brute force of a Saiyan. He closes the gap instantly, violently grabbing her by the arm before she can even process his movement. With a sickening crunch, he brutally snaps her wrist. He is systematically dismantling her ability to ever fight back. The goddess screams in absolute agony. Divine immortality doesn't mean a single thing when you're getting torn apart barehanded. He doesn't stop. He crushes her elbow backward with zero hesitation. Hand signs and ninjutsu are officially off the table. A ruthless, sweeping kick connects directly. He's bringing the literal mother of chakra straight down to the freezing dirt. The bone completely shatters under his heavy boot. She is totally grounded, stripped of all her majestic grace and mobility. He brutally stomps her other leg, completely destroying her mobility. The ultimate deity is being dismantled like a cheap toy. He violently grabs her by the collar, pulling her broken body up just to look her dead in the eye. He buries his fist deep into her ribs. No glowing energy, just the brutal, heavy impact of raw physical trauma. You can literally hear the ribcage cave in. He is delivering maximum physical pain with terrifying, surgical precision. He grabs her remaining arm and effortlessly snaps it. She is now completely paralyzed, a total prisoner in her own broken body. Her eyes are wide with unadulterated terror. The arrogant smirk is totally gone, replaced by the sheer horror of absolute helplessness. He lifts her broken body with one hand. She looks completely pathetic, totally stripped of her divinity and pride. She chokes on her own blood, unable to even twitch. The untouchable goddess is now nothing but a broken ragdoll. With a look of absolute disgust, he carelessly tosses her away. She hits the solid ice like a literal bag of trash. She skips across the jagged glacier, entirely crippled. The brutal beatdown is over, leaving her in a state way worse than death. He stands over her shattered body. He isn't going to grant her the sweet, incredibly easy release of a quick death.
You'll live as a cripple. When my children are strong enough, they will decide exactly how to finish you.
The brutal storm finally breaks. Against all odds, the twins slowly flutter their eyes open, entirely free from the dark curse. The creepy, dead white Byakugan is totally gone. Replaced by pure, innocent black eyes that just look completely lost and confused. They push themselves up off the freezing ice. No combat stances, no killer instinct. Just two terrified kids waking up from a nightmare. Shivering in the absolute zero wind, they look up and spot the towering, imposing silhouette of the Saiyan prince. Stumbling clumsily across the cracked glacier, they don't see a monster. They instinctively run toward the only source of warmth and safety. Tiny, pale hands wrap tightly around his heavy armored boots. It's a desperate, instinctual cling for a father's protection. The ultimate conqueror looks down. The universe expects him to kick them away, to reject this corrupted, hybrid mistake. But his expression remains completely stoic. Not a single trace of anger or disgust. Just the heavy, silent acceptance of his own blood. He doesn't push them away. In the middle of this freezing, ruined hellscape, the cold-blooded executioner claims his children. With the kids trailing behind him, Vegeta marches toward the broken goddess. The rescue is over, now it's time for some answers. He violently grabs Kaguya by the hair, dragging her crippled body up from the dirt without a single ounce of respect. Suspended like a broken ragdoll, she gasps for air. The terrifying physical dominance of the prince leaves absolutely zero room for negotiation.
Open the spatial gates! Show me exactly what your parasitic family does to this universe, or I snap your neck!
Trembling and coughing up blood, she forces her remaining, shattered fingers to weave a desperate, pathetic spatial hand sign. Multiple pitch-black rifts violently tear open in the air. Yamatsu Hirasaka portals, acting as windows to entirely different dimensions and realities. Vegeta stares into the void. He isn't just looking for an exit, he's mapping out the absolute scale of the Akatsuki threat. Through the first tear, a horrifying sight. A completely dead, gray planet, suffocated entirely by the colossal, petrified roots of a god tree. The reflection of the dead world burns in his eyes. He finally understands the true, sickening nature of Kaguya's entire bloodline. Portal after portal reveals the exact same nightmare. Barren wastelands, drained of all life, harvested by cosmic parasites who feed on entire civilizations. Absolute, unadulterated disgust washes over his face. They aren't gods or conquerors. They are just filthy leeches sucking the universe dry. He clenches his fist, a silent, lethal vow forming in his mind. The Akatsuki clan has just earned themselves a one-way ticket to extinction. But he can't wage a universal war with two toddlers dragging behind him. He needs a sanctuary. A place to forge them into weapons. His sharp eyes scan the remaining portals, dismissing the dead zones, looking for a world with enough raw energy to sustain them. Suddenly, his gaze locks onto a vibrant tier. Bright blue skies, lush green forests, and a sprawling shinobi village bursting with absolute life. The warm sunlight from Konoha spills through the portal, reflecting beautifully on his armor. The tension in the frozen crater finally drops. He glances down at the twins clinging to his legs, then back at the lush, green world. It's the perfect, ultimate training ground. Leaving the broken goddess completely behind in the ice, the prince makes his choice. A new world is about to get a very rude awakening. The prince carefully scoops up his newly reclaimed bloodline. A remarkably gentle touch from hands that just violently dismantled a literal deity. He turns his back on the frozen hellscape forever. The brutal rescue mission is complete, and a new dynasty is born. He leaves the broken goddess to rot in total isolation. A horrific, agonizing fate perfectly suited for a cosmic parasite. Stepping fearlessly across the dimensional threshold, he leaves the nightmare behind. Ready to conquer whatever reality lies on the other side. The rift snaps shut. The goddess is permanently sealed away in the dark, paying the ultimate price for her absolute arrogance. Meanwhile, across the multiverse, the Hidden Leaf Village basks in complete serenity. A peaceful world entirely unaware of the impending storm. It's a flawless, sunny afternoon. The citizens go about their daily lives, totally comfortable in the hard-earned peace of their era. The stone faces of the Hokage watch over the village. A legendary monument representing generations of sacrifice and unimaginable shinobi strength. Inside the sensory division, Ino keeps a relaxed watch. The borders are totally secure, and the chakra signatures are perfectly normal. But in a single heartbeat, the sunlight vanishes. A massive, unnatural eclipse abruptly swallows the entire village in total darkness. The citizens freeze in sheer panic. This isn't a storm. This is a violent disruption of the natural planetary order. The heavens are brutally torn apart. A massive dimensional rift violently scars the sky, leaking an absolutely suffocating, alien pressure. An armored boot breaches the atmosphere. The sheer density of his physical presence begins to immediately crush the surrounding air. Holding his children, the Saiyan Prince officially crosses into their universe. He didn't come to conquer, but his power doesn't care. His body mass settles, and the laws of physics violently shatter. A catastrophic gravitational shockwave erupts purely from him standing still. The clouds are aggressively obliterated. Blown away in a colossal atmospheric ring that completely exposes the terrifying invader to the world. The physical sky seems to literally crack. This fragile universe was never, ever designed to hold a being of this magnitude. Down below, total chaos. The sensory division's equipment violently overloads and detonates, completely unable to process the astronomical data spike. Ino drops to her knees. A blinding, scorching wave of pure pain aggressively hijacks her highly sensitive neurological system. The entire sensory squad collapses instantly. Their highly trained minds are being literally crushed by the sheer density of the alien presence. Through their minds, they don't sense chakra. They feel an apocalyptic, burning star threatening to instantly vaporize their entire reality.
This isn't chakra! It's too dense! It's going to crush the whole village!
Hurricane force winds brutally ravage the peaceful streets. The comforting illusion of shinobi peace is violently stripped away in mere seconds. Hovering high above the panic, the prince looks down. He is completely unimpressed by the extreme fragility of this new dimension.
The atmosphere here is pathetic. It's fracturing just from me standing still.
The twins fully wake up. Peeking over his heavy armor, they gaze down with innocent curiosity at their sprawling, vibrant new kingdom. He slowly lowers his altitude. He doesn't hide his power. The apex predator is loudly claiming his absolute dominion over this territory. The prince locks eyes with the stone faces of the Hokage. The ultimate nightmare of the Shinobi Alliance has officially begun.
Yo, Vegeta is literally crashing the Naruto universe. That Hokage stare down was insane. Smash that like, drop your predictions, and huge thanks to the PayPal squad.